Hey guys, this is video 6.6, naming molecular compounds. Again, before you do this video, you should have completed everything up here. All right, you should not be going on to this video until you've done this. If you have not done all of that and completed it and even turned in the lab, stop what you're doing, do that first, then come back to this, because once you throw this in there, things get a little bit more challenging. And this is what students want to do all the time with naming, is molecular rules, because they're so much simpler, way simpler than ionic. Okay, so that's why we spend twice as much time dealing with ionic as we do molecular. Okay, but if you're ready for it, this is 6.6, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be on page 13 in your note packet. Okay, it's going to be a little bit quicker because there's a lot less rules. So when it comes to molecular compounds, remember again, what does that term molecular mean? It means covalent. How do I tell if I have a covalent compound versus an ionic compound? It means it's two or more nonmetals. So we are specifically dealing with binary molecular compounds, guys. When we get into those ternary, meaning three or more atoms, that'll be organic chemistry toward the very, very end of the school year. So we are dealing with binary right now, and we use what's called the prefix system, okay, where these are all the different prefixes. So if you need to make flashcards to know these, go ahead and do so. Some of them you're probably familiar with, like mono, di, tri, tetra. Maybe you're familiar, like if you ever play the game Tetris. Fun fact of the day, if you haven't ever noticed that or looked at it, Tetris, every single shape that you go and do in that game has 4 blocks, because it's, again, Tetris. And then how many lines you need to get a Tetris? 4. Look at that. Mind blown. Like crazy. So 5 is penta, 6 is hexa, 7 is hepta, 8 is octa, 9 is nona, and 10 is deca. Okay, so pretty simple here. It'll be a lot, like I said, shorter video and a little bit easier to do than the ionic stuff. You got to remember, the less electronegative element is always written first. Think back to the ionic videos early on. I said if you look at your periodic table, pretty much, and if you remember back to unit 4 on periodic trends, where are the least electronegative ones? Further to the left. So the element, when you look at the periodic table, that is more on the left side when you look at the periodic table, is going to be written first. It only gets a prefix if it has more than one atom. Okay, so the first one only gets a prefix if there's more than one molecule. So basically what this is saying, guys, right here, mono is only used with the second element. I can't spell today. Okay, you will never, ever use it with the first one. Okay, it's only ever used with the second element. Excuse me. Much like ionic naming, the second element gets the ending "ide." Okay, so like we did with ionic. And letter D here kind of just says the O or the A is dropped. You'll see what I mean, guys. So like monoxide, pentoxide. So it's not monoxide or pentaoxide. Excuse me, but if you're pretty close, I'm not going to worry about it, and you'll get the gist of it as the more practice you do. So here we go. We're going to jump right in. These are the only practice ones I'm going to kind of show you, and then you're going to be on your own. So number 1, let's take a look. Is it metallic, or sorry, is there a metal and a nonmetal, or is it all nonmetals? Well, look at your periodic table. Both of those elements are to the right of the staircase, so we know it's molecular. So now ask yourself, my first element, well, what is that? As. If I look it up, it's arsenic. So the next question I got to say is, how many arsenic atoms do I have? If I have 1, I just leave it as arsenic. But if I have more than 1, then I'm going to use a prefix. Well, in this case, oops, forgot to change my pen back. Okay, in this case, there are 2. So I'm going to use the prefix di. So it's diarsenic. How many oxygens do I have? I have 5. So if I look up here, if I don't remember what the prefix for 5 is, it's pent. This is pentoxide. It's that simple. Diarsenic pentoxide. So I want you guys to pause the video. If you need to watch another one, you can keep it playing, but pause it and try to go through and name the rest on your own. And I'll go over these other 4 in just a minute. All right, next one. I've got 1 sulfur. So again, first one, do I use mono? Absolutely not. So this is just going to stay as sulfur. And then 6 is hex. This is going to be hexafluoride, sulfur hexafluoride. All right, when we get to gas laws, I'll show you a video using sulfur hexafluoride. Pretty cool stuff. Number 3, you've got CO. So again, how many carbons do I have? It's 1, so I'm not going to use mono. This is just going to be carbon monoxide or monoxide. Dangerous, dangerous stuff. My kind of public service announcement today, if you don't have a carbon monoxide detector at your home, get one. All right, get one for sure, because it's a silent, deadly killer. You cannot smell it, it is odorless, and you cannot see it, it is colorless. So make sure you have those if you don't. Moving on to number 4, I've got 2 nitrogens. That's going to be the prefix di. So di-nitrogen, and this is going to be trioxide. Dinitrogen trioxide. And then the last one here, number 5, this is going to be carbon. Now, you might have had tetraiodide. Okay, that's kind of weird to say. If you had tetraiodide, that's how I pronounce it or how I say it. Again, as long as you're close there, you're going to be fine with it, so don't worry too much about it. Now, naming acids, guys, you have a list on tables K and table L, common acids and common bases. You don't have to worry about the naming system. In the next video, I'll kind of mention it briefly, but you can look those up, and we'll talk more about it when we do our acid and base unit later on in the unit. But congratulations, give yourselves a pat on the back. You know how to name compounds. From this point forward, the rest of the year, you have to be able to name them. Yeah! All right, but seriously, you've got to be able to name your compounds the rest of the year. I will not be giving you names and formulas most of the time, so anticipate you having to come up with it on your own. Again, additional notes and practice, guys, can be located, or you can get those in the practice binder in the classroom, but spend some time really going through that. Really spend time with the mixed practice where you've got molecular and ionic together. All right, there is one more video that I will kind of give you a flow chart and kind of explain it to help you with that mixed practice, so make sure you tune in for that. See you next time.